Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Let's go over the 7-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me over on Twitter. I'm at Pennell16. And if you want to support me over on Patreon, it's much appreciated. But if you do want to, wait until tomorrow, because today is the last day of February. And if you signed up today, you're going to get double charged again the next day on Sunday morning, which that's not cool, and I want that to happen to you guys anyway. And if that does happen, then I got to do some manual fixing, which I don't want to have to do. So if you do want to support me over on there, just wait until Monday morning. And if you do want to sign up for NASCAR, again, just wait until Sunday morning because, again, I don't want you guys to get double charged, and all my content will still be there. It's not going to go anywhere. So if you guys want to check it out, links in the description below. And if you are interested, sign up on Sunday morning. But I think that's about it for the plugging. Let's get right into the video. So we have a pretty nice 7-game slate. I think there's a lot of good spend-up options. I think there's a lot of good mid-range options. And I think there's a lot of good value options. So perfect storm there. I like the way this sets up. Now up top, I have LeBron here. He comes at 11,100. He is not a given to play. He is listed as questionable. So I have him on here just so I can make him a top talking point. And obviously there's going to be some guys that get bumps when LeBron misses, like Rajon Rondo, Anthony Davis, a couple of other guys, Dwight Howard, Kyle Kuzma, they all get bumps. So, the scrubby guards, Avery Bradley and Danny Green. But if LeBron's good to go, like the matchup here versus Memphis. Now, could there be blowout potential? Sure, but I don't like projecting blowouts. It's just not something it's, because a lot of times if you do project a blowout, sometimes the game stays close and then you're burnt because you thought the game would blow out and then all the guys got full minutes and then you get crushed by not having them. So let's just give him like 30-ish minutes here, about 35 minutes versus Memphis. And if he gets that, he should be able to crush because we all know how bad Memphis is defensively. And they are 7th in pace of play while the Lakers are 14th. So a bit of a pace-up spot here. Going to be a fast-paced game. And this game is in Memphis. So maybe that'll help keep the game a little bit closer. And if you look at his numbers on the season, he's at 1.53 points per minute with a 31.5% usage rate. If we head over to the DVP chart, Memphis is bottom 6 defensively, and they rank 19th versus point guards, 26th versus small forwards, whatever position you want to call LeBron. He plays a little bit of everything. He's matchup proof. If LeBron's good to go, certainly going to have some interest, but I do understand the concern, even if he was good to go, that he's coming off the injury, and it's really not that bad of a big of an opponent versus Memphis, so they might not want to push him on Saturday. So, I would not be surprised if he ends up sitting again. And if that's the case, we'll talk about who we like. But right below me, I have James Harden, 10,900. I almost didn't put him on here, but he's below 11K. And if you're just looking at game logs, which you should do a lot more than just looking at game logs, but it's going to tell you that he had a really, really, really bad game last time out versus, I want to say, the Grizzlies, I believe. But when he had 46 fantasy points, but that was in the third quarter. If he played any bit in the fourth quarter, he's probably having a 60 fantasy point outing. He did not touch the court in the fourth quarter, and he also had 4 fouls in the first half. So, for not playing in the fourth quarter, he was having a pretty solid game. Sorry, I had to pause really quick. My dog was barking at me. Had to pick him up. He's in my lap. We're petting him, so all is well in the world now. But yeah, James Harden, I already talked a little bit about him, but I don't love the matchup here versus Boston. But anytime James Harden's below 11K, I'm probably going to put him on here because that's just a little bit too cheap for his kind of upside. And he's had a recent stretch where he's been scoring 60 fantasy points every single game. And yes, I know the last game he only scored 46, but like I touched on a little bit ago, he didn't play in the entire fourth quarter. I think he could have got there, especially in a good matchup versus Memphis. But hey, they were up by 30, so there's no reason for him to come back in. Russell Westbrook kind of stole the show. But yeah, I still like him despite the bad matchup. If we head over to the DVP chart, Boston does rank 5th best defensively, 3rd versus point guards, and 6th versus shooting guards. But James Harden, he's the guy you just really don't care about matchups. It just depends on if he's hitting the shots or not. And on the year, he's at 1.62 points per minute, 36.6% usage rate. He's going to play all the minutes he can handle. From a number standpoint, James Harden makes sense, so you can look his way. Never have any concerns about playing James Harden. And this game should stay close versus Boston. We got 2 pretty good teams there, so don't mind that at all. Trae Young, he comes in at 10,300. A little bit of a disappointing game last night versus Brooklyn. I believe he only scored 48 fantasy points. But I like the spot here versus Portland. This should be... There's no totals out yet, but I'd have to imagine this might have the highest total. Atlanta versus Portland. 2 terrible defensive teams, and both are pretty up there in the pace of play. Atlanta 4th in pace of play, while Portland is 11th. They're not blazing fast, but still fast nonetheless. So, that game, it could have a near 240 total, for being honest. just guessing, but I think it's anywhere from 235 to 240. And if you look at his numbers on the season, 1.44 points per minute, 34.9% usage rate. You head over to the DVP chart. Portland does rank fifth worst defensively, and they rank 26th versus point guards. If you know the upside Trae Young has every single night, he can be a little bit of a streaky guy, but I like Trae Young quite a bit. So always a double-double threat with his assist too, and we know he can put up 40 real-life points, 50 real-life points with no effort. So don't mind Trae Young. Anthony Davis, 10,200. I know it did not work out last time out when LeBron missed, but he also did not play in the fourth quarter versus the Warriors. And I know he only had 39 fantasy points, but he probably would have got us about 55 if he played that fourth quarter. So I'm willing to give him a pass here. And he was so high-owned it didn't even matter anyway. But if LeBron's out, we have to lock in Anthony Davis. Like I said, I know he had a bad game last time out, but willing to go back to the well here. But if you take LeBron off the court, he's got a 33.8% usage rate, and he's at 1.63 points per minute. And those numbers are up from 1.46, and a 29% usage rate. So he gets a massive bump when LeBron's off the court. And I know he's listed as questionable on DraftKings, but he is technically probable, so he's going to be good to go. Pretty much what he's been all season. So Anthony Davis, he should be able to crush here. He's been crushing Memphis multiple times this season so far. So no concerns with Anthony Davis. I like him even if LeBron plays. I mean, you can make a case for Anthony Davis being the best spend up on the slate even if LeBron plays. So if LeBron's out, lock in Anthony Davis. We have enough value to get him in for sure. And if you head over to the DVP chart, Memphis does rank 20th versus power forwards and 21st versus center. So definitely 80 a ton. Jason Tatum, he's all the way up to 9,400. I'm pretty sure this is the most expensive he's been all season, but the guy he's on a hot streak. I mean, he's been scoring 50-plus fantasy points on the reg recently. I mean, he's balling out. He's taking it to a new level recently, and I can't say anything bad about him besides the price tag. I mean, you're only playing him in GPPs. I'm not going to tell you you're going to play Jason Tatum at near 10K in cash games, but you can look his way in GPPs, especially in a good matchup versus Houston. This price should keep his ownership down. I can't expect him to be too high-owned, although I understand the appeal of wanting to play Tatum on this hot streak. I really do. But nice pace of spot for the Celtics. They're 16th in pace of play, while Houston is 5th. On the year, he's at 1.2 points for the 28% usage rate. But Kemba Walker is going to miss this game. So if you take Kemba Walker off the court, Tatum, he's over 1.3 points per minute. He's got a near 36% usage rate. So Jason Tatum, I think he's fine. If you head over to the DVP chart, Houston's terrible defensively. And they rank 24th versus small forwards and 27th versus power forwards. So love the matchup for Jason Tatum. I was going to say I think he can pay off his price tag, but I don't think he's a cash game play just because, Anthony Davis is 800 more, and we can find the 800 salary difference there, and Anthony Davis is a much safer play in my opinion. So I like Tatum in GPPs, not going to play him in cash. Hassan Whiteside, he comes in at 9,300. They raised his price tag. He was 8,800 last time out versus the Pacers. Ended up scoring, I believe, 49 fantasy points, 44 or 49. Either way, he had a pretty good game, and you're getting a matchup here versus Atlanta. I can't see a lot of people playing him with this price tag just because it's a little bit much. But when you're playing Atlanta, I don't know if there's a price tag that's really wrong because, they just suck defensively. They rank 28th versus centers, and they're the worst defensive team in the league. It's also a nice pace-up spot here for the Blazers. They're 11th to pace-up play, which isn't slow by any means, but going up against the 4th-ranked pace-up play team, definitely like that. And on the year, he's been elite point per minute-wise, 1.34 points per minute. So Hassan Whiteside, I know he's a little bit expensive, but you can't knock the matchup versus Atlanta, and you can't knock the talent that he is for fantasy purposes. So Hassan Whiteside, I think he's fine. CJ McCollum becomes at 9,200. If I had to play one or the other, I'm probably playing McCollum in this matchup just because he's going to play more minutes. And he had a mediocre game last time out. He scored like 44 fantasy points, but 44 at 9,200, it's not the greatest, but I still think he can do it here versus Atlanta. I know he's really expensive. Not really sure if I'll get there in cash games, but you're playing Atlanta, the worst defensive team in the league. They rank 27th versus shooting guards, 19th versus point guards. And if you look at his regular numbers on the year, he's only at a point per minute and a 26% usage rate. If you take Damian Lillard off the court, he's close to 1.3 points per minute. Not quite there, but he's getting close. He's around 1.2 points per minute, and the usage rate goes from 26% to the mid-30s. So huge bump with Damian Lillard off. And Collins, he's been playing well. He's got 70-point upside, so I don't mind him. You could get away with it in cash games, but I think he's more stronger suited for GPPs given the price tag. But He's probably a safe bet for around 45 plus fantasy points. So I guess you could play him in cash games. It feels a little bit gross paying 9,200 for McCollum. Sabonis, he comes in at 9,100, gets an elite matchup here versus Cleveland. As you can see, there's a lot of good spend-up options. You got LeBron, Harden, Trae Young, Davis, Tatum, Whiteside, McCollum, even Sabonis. And you don't even have a couple of these guys listed here. You got Russell Westbrook, and I believe there's another guy I didn't mention here, but I didn't want to list every single buddy that was a spend-up. So I left a couple of these guys off. I don't have anything against them, especially Westbrook, but I'm probably going to play Harden over Westbrook. But yeah, we're talking about Sabonis, 9,100 versus Cleveland. We know how bad they are defensively. They're the second worst defensive team in the league, 23rd versus power forwards and 21st versus centers. And Sabonis, he's been playing pretty well recently. And now this game, from a pace standpoint, is not the greatest. Pacers are 25th in pace of play, while Cleveland is 21st, which isn't amazing. But I still like Sabonis here. And he's at 1.24 points per minute, 23% usage rate. He's fine. He's just one of those solid cash game plays. Like McCollum, Sabonis, Whiteside. Probably all finish around the same, although I think there's more upside for McCollum and Whiteside versus Atlanta. Bam Adebayo, 8,600 versus Brooklyn. So I'm seeing there's a lot of good power forwards / center plays, especially up top. You got Anthony Davis, Hassan Whiteside, Sabonis, Adebayo. Then we're going to talk about Ayton. But Adebayo's fine, 8,600 versus Brooklyn. We know they struggle versus big men. They're not the worst defensive team in the world, but they struggle versus two spots, and that is versus point guards, they're ranked 25th, and then versus centers, they rank 27th. And Bam, I don't know, I feel safe playing Bam just because he does a little bit of everything. He'll get rebounds, assists, points. He's a triple-double threat. Not that he gets triple-doubles, but not often anyway, but he's got the upside for it, so it makes him a little bit safer. It's also a pace-up spot here versus Brooklyn, as they are 9th in pace of play, while Miami is 18th. And on the year, he's at 1.18 points per minute with a 20% usage rate. I think Bam's fine. I'd rather play Ayton, though. He comes in 8,400. I just like saving the extra $200 here. Well, similar upside with DeAndre Ayton. He's been a little bit better point per minute wise, if I remember. Yeah, he's a little bit better point per minute wise, and they're going to play around the same minutes. So if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to go DeAndre Ayton. He had a pretty good game last night versus Detroit. I think he ended up with 44 fantasy points, got that 20-point double-double. Just barely got it, but he got it, so it still counts. But yeah, you got like Ayton here, 1.24 points per minute, 24% usage rate. Gets a good matchup here versus Golden State. They suck defensively. They rank fourth worst overall, and they rank 19th versus centers. So don't mind DeAndre Ayton here at all. The guy's been, great point per minute wise this season. He's got 60-point upside, so don't mind DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker, so he screwed me in the last game versus the Clippers. I was willing to go back to the well. I ended up making him a core play on my sheet, and he bounced back. He had 44 fantasy points, so it was nice to see him bounce back. And like I said, for DFS, you got to have a short-term memory, because just because a guy burns you the other night doesn't mean he can't be a profitable play the next time out, man. Happened to work out versus Detroit, and I think he can do it again versus Golden State. Golden State's just so bad defensively versus guards. What did I say? They're third worst defensive team? Yeah, third worst, and they're ranked 28th versus point guards and 26th versus shooting guards. So love the spot for Devin Booker. His price didn't raise too much. I believe he was 78 or 7,900 last night, only up to 8,100. So I still think you can get away with it in cash games. I always call him more of a GPP play, but 8,100 is really not that bad of a price for Devin Booker, especially versus Golden State. 1.17 points per minute, 29.5% usage rate, and also Kelly Oubre is going to be missing, so these numbers go up even more. Mid-30s usage rate with over 1.2 points per minute. So Devin Booker, I think he's a nice, safe, solid play at 8,100 with a high ceiling and a little bit of a lower floor, but I don't mind him in cash games. Jimmy Butler, 7,800. I can see him being popular. There's a lot of good mid-range options. I said this last night, and I played pretty much everyone in the mid-range. I played who did I play? I played Conley, Brandon Ingram. I can't even remember. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. There's another guys, but yeah, the mid-range was strong. So, like I said in my video, I thought the mid-range was pretty strong, and none of the spend-ups were absolute locks for me, and I ended up going that way and ended up working out pretty well. And I could see a similar situation. There's a lot of good mid-range options. Now, again, if LeBron's out, we have to find a way to lock in AD, but we'll figure that out then. What time does that game start? 8? Okay, that's good. It's not the 10 o'clock game, so at least we'll know at a decent time. Although, with LeBron, they tend to announce him a little bit earlier in the day, so we'll see. But yeah, anyway, Jimmy Butler versus Brooklyn. I can see him being popular below 8K. He had a pretty good game last night. I believe he almost scored 30 real-life points. But I did a little bit of everything in the stat sheet. That's what he does. Makes him a safe play. And I really don't think there's a reason for him to be below 8K. So we'll take advantage of this. I like the pace-up spot versus the Nets. They're ninth in pace of play on the year. Jimmy's at 1.23 points per minute, 25.4% usage rate. Nothing bad I can say about Jimmy. So I don't mind him in cash games. DeMar DeRozan, he'll be popular, 7,600. Whenever LaMarcus Aldridge is out, everyone wants to play DeMar DeRozan, and deservedly so. I mean, he had a great game last time out versus Dallas. I want to say he had over 50 fantasy points. He started the game a little bit slow, but ended up just pulling through in the second half. Now, I don't like this matchup versus Orlando. They play really slow. They're second to last in pace, and Spurs don't play that fast either. They're 15th, so they're right in the middle. But on the year, he's at 1.15 points per minute, 27% usage rate. And if you take LaMarcus Aldridge off the court, I have it written down here, DeMar DeRozan is at 1.29 points per minute with a 33% usage rate. So DeMar DeRozan, I think he's fine in all formats, and I would definitely assume he's going to be pretty popular tomorrow, despite the tough matchup versus Orlando. And Malcolm Brogdon, he comes in at 7K, and he's just a guard that gets to play Cleveland. Like I always say, if you're a guard and you're playing Cleveland, you're going on this sheet unless you're way overpriced or whatever. You're not going to get that many minutes. But Malcolm Brogdon, he's going to play around 30 minutes, and he's only 7K, so I think he fits the mold here. Love the spot versus Cleveland. If you look at the DVP chart, they're ranked 30th versus point guards and 30th versus shooting guards. You can't ask for a better matchup. It's as good as it gets right here. So Malcolm Brogdon, we can look his way. Now, the pace of this game's not great, but love the matchup. On the year, he's at 1.11 points per minute, 25.4% usage rate. Malcolm Brogdon's a nice, safe, solid play. Not too safe, but he's solid. Right below me, you have Jaylen Brown, 6,900. No Kemba Walker, so everyone's getting a bump here. I'm not going to go too in-depth about it, but like the matchup versus Houston, they rank 27th versus shooting guards, 24th versus small forwards, whatever you want to call Jaylen Brown. So very good matchup for him. I think this is going to be pretty close back and forth game. I think a lot of points are going to be scored, so don't mind Jaylen Brown. On the year, he's over a point per minute with a 24.6% usage rate, and again, those numbers go up without Kemba Walker. His teammate Marcus Smart, 6,500. He's been playing pretty well, and whenever a guy's out for the Celtics, that's a guard, or really just about anybody, he moves into the starting position, they kind of rotate it. Well, he's going to get about 35 minutes here, 6,500. His price has risen, and I think this might be the highest he's been all season, at least that I can remember. He might have been more expensive, but recently, I believe this is the most expensive he's been. But he's been playing well, and you got to like the spot versus Houston. They rank, 21st versus point guards, 27th versus shooting guards. So pretty good spot for Marcus Smart. And if you look at his numbers in the year, 0.91 points per minute, 18% usage rate. But if you take Kemba off, he's about a point per minute with about a 20-ish% usage rate. So Marcus Smart, I think he's fine. Wouldn't talk you out of him. Robert Covington, 5,900. Tougher matchup versus Boston, but he's been playing pretty solid since he's been on Houston. He's pretty much been a safe bet for 30 fantasy points, if not more. I mean, he's been in those high 30s. But like Covington here, he does a little bit of everything in the stat sheet. He'll hit some threes, but he can get it done with the rebounds, the assists, the blocks, and the steals, which I do like because the blocks and steals are worth 2 points each, and he tends to get quite a bit of those during the game. And he's below 6K, so I don't mind that at all. On the year, he's been about a point per minute guy. I know he's on a new team now, but you can pretty much expect him to probably get about 30 fantasy points, if not a little bit more. Right below him, we have... Sorry to get some water really quick, but we're talking about Carmelo Anthony. Comes in at 5,700. Again, no Damian Lillard, so all these guys are going to get bumped. TJ McCollum gets a bump. Carmelo gets a bump. Gary Trent gets a bump. Simons gets a bump. But Carmelo, 5,700, below 6K. Love the matchup versus Atlanta. I think he can pay off this price tag pretty easily as long as he gets mid-30s minutes, which he should here. And on the year, he's at 0.86 points per minute. You take Damian Lillard off the court, that's closer to a point per minute, and he's got a near 25% usage rate without Damian Lillard on the court as well. If you look at the matchup versus Atlanta as a power forward / small forward, they rank 30th and 30th. So literally the best matchup you can ask for Melo. Fast-paced game, suits a guy like him well. If he can drain some threes, I think he'll pay off his price tag at 5,700. Miles Turner, he's been playing pretty well the past 2 games, and he gets a good spot versus Cleveland. They rank 21st versus centers, 23rd versus power forwards. So don't mind Miles Turner. He's got block upside as well, which are worth 2 points on DK. So yeah, that always helps. But on the year, 0.93 points per minute, low usage rate. But Miles Turner, I think he can get another 30 fantasy points, and I don't mind that at all. Damian Lee, he comes in at 5,300. So Jordan Poole's questionable for this game, which I guess isn't a monster impact on Damian Lee, but it's just solidifies more extra minutes, and obviously he'll get a usage rate bump and point per minute rate bump without Jordan Poole on the court. And Damian Lee, he's been pretty safe play for a while now. He's probably going to get you about 25 to 35 fantasy points, just depending on how he's playing or how the ball's falling on the hoop. But obviously, but yeah, I don't mind Damian Lee. I think he's a pretty solid player. 0.7 points per minute. But if you take all those guys off the court, like D'Lo, he's gone. Multiple other people, his numbers get close to about a point per minute. So don't mind Damian Lee. Daniel Tice, I'm never sure how to say this guy's name. I think I've been saying it Tice all season, so we'll just keep rolling with it. If someone really wants to correct me on Daniel Tice's name, feel free to do so, but I don't think you guys really care too much. So 4,900, don't mind it. Good spot versus Houston. The guy's been playing pretty well. He's pretty much been around 20 to 25 to around 40 fantasy points. In Houston, they ranked 27th versus power forwards and 13th versus centers, but they did trade Clint Capella, so obviously that number's not too accurate of a accurate representation of how they are defensively versus centers. But still, nonetheless, I think Daniel Tice is not a bad play. He's at 0.87 points per minute on the year. 1 point per minute on the year. Should play about 25-ish minutes, so I don't think that's a bad play at 4,900. DeAndre Hunter, I got him for around 35 minutes. He's only 4,700. Love the matchup versus Portland. I know his numbers are pretty ugly in the year, 0.71 points per minute, but I like the minutes he's going to see here. And, it's a really good matchup versus Portland. They rank 19th versus small forwards and 28th versus power forwards. So I like the spot quite a bit for DeAndre Hunter, and I think he can pay off that price tag as long as he's getting his full minutes, which I don't see why he wouldn't. So I got to fix my camera. It's all blurry. All right, now going below him, we got Kyle Kuzma. So I have LeBron plays, no interest here at all. And his minutes are projected with LeBron being in. But we saw in the last game, he played near 30 minutes. Now, again, they were blowing out Golden State, so we got some extra run late in the fourth quarter. I believe that's what it was. So if this game stays closer, I don't think he'll get quite about 30 minutes. But he should play around 24 to 26 minutes. So maybe he does get the same amount of run. But don't mind him here at 4,600. When you take LeBron off the court, Kuzma's actually at 26.5% usage rate. So if we look at his regular numbers on the season, he's at a 23% usage rate. So that goes up about 3%. And he goes up from 0.87 points per minute to 0.94 points per minute. And if he gets close to 30 minutes again, yeah, he'll pay off that price tag at 4,600. And you got to like the matchup versus Memphis. It's a fast-paced game. We know Kuzma's not afraid to shoot the ball. So don't mind Kuzma. Dwight Howard, again, he gets a bump when you take LeBron off the court. If you look at the numbers in the year, he's at 1.08 points per minute. And if you take LeBron out, that number goes up to 1.26. So that's a pretty big jump, actually. I believe he actually gets one of the biggest bumps on the team, which is a little surprising. And his usage rate from 14% to, I don't really think that's going to move too much, but it's at 17%. So, yeah, not bad bumps. Not too bad of bumps for Dwight Howard when LeBron's off the court. He's actually one of the biggest benefactors on the Lakers team, which is kind of surprising. But that's what the numbers are saying. And it's a 400-minute sample size. So, yeah, it's pretty not a small sample size or anything. It's a big sample size. So I think you can trust that. Cam Reddish, he actually got the start last night, and he balled out. I think he had nearly 40 fantasy points. He was just not missing shots, and it's not going to happen every single night, but still, he played well, and I expect him to do the same thing here. I don't see why they wouldn't, and it's a great spot versus Portland. This should be the highest total on the slate. Maybe the Lakers-Memphis game gets close to it, but this should be the highest total if I'm guessing right. And Cam Reddish, if he can play like that again, I mean, he should be able to pay off his price tag like the spot versus Portland, one of the worst defensive teams in the league. So, where are they ranked? Yeah, ranked right below Golden State. So, do like this spot for Cam Reddish, and if he plays around 30 minutes again, I don't see why he can't pay off that price tag. Now, the numbers on the season are gross, 0.74 points per minute, but hey, 30-ish minutes, 4,300, good game environment. Upside with Cam Reddish, I don't mind it at all. Right below him, we have Gary Trent. So Trent, he played like 41 minutes in the last game, and that wasn't with an overtime. He just played 41 minutes out of the 48. So that was crazy. And he also had a pretty good game. He scored 20 real-life points, had a decent fantasy outing, and now he gets a good matchup versus Atlanta. And I'm not saying he's going to get around 40 minutes again. He might get, 30 to 33. I mean, 35 might be pushing it for Trent, but, if he can get 40 minutes again, yeah, he'll pay off his price tag easy, but I'm not going to count on that. So let's just give him around 30-ish minutes. And 4,300, good spot versus Atlanta, the worst defensive team in the league. No Damian Lillard, so the minutes are solidified, and so his point per minute rate gets bumped up, and usage rate. Because as you can see on the season, he's only at 0.69 points per minute, which is not going to get the job done. But with Damian Lillard off the court, that number goes up. So Gary Trent, I don't mind. Rajon Rondo, 4,200. If LeBron's out, you can play Rondo. If LeBron's in, you can't play Rondo, because with LeBron in, you can see I only have him for like 15 to 18 minutes, which is, not gonna do, even though he's 4,200. But if you take LeBron off, he should play anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes, depending on if the game's close. And you gotta like the spot here versus Memphis. It's gonna be a fast-paced game, good game environment. On the year, he's only at 1 point per minute. Not only, but he's at 1 point per minute. But if you take LeBron off the court, Rondo's at 1.07 points per minute with a 20% usage rate. So definitely gets a bump without LeBron, and you'll also get a minutes bump, and he will draw the start. So keep your eye on Rondo. Trey Lyles, 3,800. So he ended up having a decent game last time out versus Dallas. Not a great game, but he didn't kill you either. He certainly got more points than Pirtle. But Lyles, he's going to draw the start. I'm going to say get around 25-ish minutes. And on the year, he's at 0.83 points per minute. But if you take Aldridge off the court, Trey Lyles is at 0.83, which is the exact same. So he does not get a bump at all in that department. He's got a 14% usage rate, which goes up 0.8. So not too much of a bump for Lyles besides a minute, more safer minutes. So 3,800 is not too bad. Now, I don't like the matchup versus Orlando. It's going to be a slow-paced game, and they're really good defensively. They rank, I believe it's top 5 versus centers. Yeah, they rank 4th versus centers. They're a top 10 team overall, so don't love the matchup, but he's cheap. Yeah, power forward too, so they're more mid-range versus power forwards. Bruno Fernando, 3,500. He drew the start in the last game. Ended up having an okay game. I don't remember seeing a stat line for certain, but I want to say he went 9 points, 9 rebounds, which not too bad given his price tag. If he can do that again versus Portland, which I think he can, he'll pay off that price tag at 3,500. If you look at the DVP chart, Portland does rank, I believe, bottom 4. They're ranked 26th versus center, so don't mind the spot at all for Bruno Fernando. Now, the rest of these guys are going to be San Antonio guys, and man, Coach Pop likes to troll with us. We all played Jakob Poeltl, 2 nights ago? I think it was on Thursday, or was it Wednesday? Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, Poeltl, he played 9 minutes. We all thought he was going to draw the start. Ended up not drawing the start. Only played 9 minutes. Did not play in the second half whatsoever. All those minutes were from the first half, if I'm remembering right. So yeah, we just kind of got trolled by Coach Pop. We'll see what they do with his minutes this time around. But the reason I'm talking about Poeltl now is because Lonnie Walker was the guy that started in Pirtle's place. And if Lonnie Walker gets to start at 3,400, we can certainly look his way. He had a decent game. I think he scored over 20 fantasy points, and he's only 3,400, so you could look his way. Now, I don't like the matchup here versus the Orlando Magic, but I'm willing to look past it if he does start the start. All right, now dropping down to Rudy Gay. He had an okay game last time out. Nothing too killer, but only 3,300. And without LaMarcus Aldridge, yeah, he's in play. He's not going to play huge minutes. I got him for around 20, but if you take him off the court, Rudy Gay's numbers are not too bad. So on the year, he's at 0.96 points per minute, the 20% usage rate. You take Aldridge off, Rudy Gay's at 1.07 points per minute, the 23.7% usage rate. So he actually gets a nice bump. Again, the minutes aren't going to be huge for Rudy Gay. I mean, probably won't get over 25. Probably going to be around 20. But he should be pretty efficient while on the court at 3,300. So you can take a stab at him. Jakob Poeltl, who knows what they're going to do with him. But if he's announced as a starter, pretty much got to lock him in because he's only 3,200. The last game when he was starting, assumed he was going to be starting. I had him for around 30 minutes. And if he got 30 minutes, he's the easiest play on the board. As of right now, around 20 just to play it safe because I don't know what they're going to do with it. But when you take LaMarcus Aldridge off the court, Poeltl's numbers are really, really good. I mean, really good. And now, Basketball Reference doesn't show me his numbers right now, but if you look at his numbers without Aldridge, it's an 861-minute sample size. 861 minutes, so this is a big sample size. He's at a 13% usage rate. Obviously, that sucks, but he's a center, so it's whatever. But he's at 1.13 points per minute. So if he was going to get 25 to 30 minutes, he's crushing that price tag. And I still think if he gets around 20 minutes, I still think he can pay off that price tag. But we don't know what Coach Pop's going to do. So if he's not starting, you'll probably want to stay away. But if he is starting, we can certainly look his way. And they might start him just to get a big body with Nikola Vucevic. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But that's only up to Coach Pop. Patty Mills, 3,200. He had a decent game last time. I believe he played around 28 minutes. Didn't do too bad. Got him for around 25 minutes. Don't like the matchup versus Orlando, but we can't get too picky. And if you take LaMarcus Aldridge off the court, Patty Mills, he's at 0.96 points per minute, which is up from 0.82 point per minute. So he actually gets a really big bump. And that's a 708-minute sample size. 708 minutes. So he's going up, what, 0.14? That's quick math. I don't know. 0.14, that seems like it'd be right. So yeah, he gets a pretty big bump, and he gets about a 3% usage rate bump as well. So Patty Mills, you can certainly look his way, and that's pretty much going to be it for this player-by-player pool breakdown. So before we get out of here, I do want to talk about the sponsor of this video, OverlayDFS.com. Alright, you guys have been watching my videos, you already know what this is, and hopefully you guys have signed up and tried it. But if you're new to the channel, this is OverlayDFS.com. Really fun website to play on. You don't have to quit DraftKings just to play on Overlay. You can play it supplemented with your DraftKings, but it's a really fun experience. It's more suited for a casual player. You don't have to worry about any, mass multi-entry guys over here. There's no Chipotle or his brother. You don't have to worry about those guys over here. There's no salary cap restrictions. There's no lineup building. It's just a pick-em-based website. So whoever you think's going to score the most fantasy points, you pick that person in that group. So say you think Bam Adebayo is going to outscore Jimmy Butler, you pick Jimmy Butler. It's as simple as, if you think Bam's going to outscore Jimmy Butler, you pick Bam Adebayo. It's as simple as that. And the list goes on and on. They give you around 20 options, and you pick your 12th favorite. And if you finish in the top 10% of the contest, you win 9 extra money. That's probably my favorite thing about Overlay DFS is their payout structure. So if you finish in the top 10%, you 9 extra money. To be able to 9 extra money on DraftKings, you almost have to win the whole thing. And sometimes even if you do win the whole thing, you don't even 9 extra money. I know there's one contest I like to play in. It's one of the, say, a $75 single entry. It's one of my favorite contests on DraftKings because they pay out 30% of the field, which is, I think, is pretty cool in a GPP. So say you put in $75. First place is $400. So you're barely 4xing your money just to win the whole thing. Just to finish in the top 10% in Overlay, you win 9 extra money. I love the payout structure here. I think it's absolutely awesome. And they also have a couple of cool twists on these contests. So, for example, this is the $22 Double Deuce contest. If you go 12-0 on your picks, you can win nearly $14,000. It's a 94-day ongoing jackpot that no one's hit in 94 days. Someone is due to hit, so why not you? Do not miss out on the chance to win $14,000. Close to it. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. I think this might be updated for today, so it's at $13,740. So basically $14,000, guys. And there's no strings attached. It'll go right to your account balance, then you can withdraw it into your bank account. Simple as that. They're also running a Slump Buster challenge where if you lose 20 days in a row, not consecutively, but just 20 days in a row, so you play once a week for 20 weeks in a row, you lose every single time, they will refund every single dollar you deposited. And if you go 0-12 in your picks, which sounds almost as hard as going 12-0, they'll give you $500. So check it out, guys. There's no promo code required. Just go over there, sign up, have fun. I've noticed there's a lot more people in the lobbies since I've been doing these videos, so I don't know if it's helped a little bit. But if you guys are going over there and playing, you can let me know and just let me know your experience. And yeah, it's going to be it for this video. Hope this video was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. If you are looking forward to NASCAR content, it's going to be out this afternoon. So, yay. And then if you guys do want to sign up on Patreon for the NASCAR or the NBA, whatever, wait until Monday morning. And that's pretty much going to be it for this video. I said that twice, but yeah, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm tired. I feel like I fell asleep twice in this video. There's just a lot of people to talk about, but I'm still here. So, all right. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.